Scope of the explanation. Remember I said the explanation only applies to certain kinds of situations. It applies to situations that are task-focused and collectively oriented. What does it mean to say a situation is task-focused?
They're trying to come up with a solution.
Good. Their main reason for getting together is to solve a problem. Yes. And you can think of groups that are not task-focused, right? Where they get together because they enjoy each other's company, for instance. These are groups where the reason that they are together is to work on something. They want to come up with an answer to something. You remember in the Bales groups, they were given a human relations problem. Should this couple go to counseling? Should this couple break up? Should they try to talk it out? That kind of thing. That's the reason that the groups are together. And the committee that you worked on last week for your paper was a task-focused committee. They got together because they had to come up with a solution to the problem of how long it takes to get to class. And second, yeah. So the primary motive is to solve a task. The other kind of group would be a social-emotional group where the reason they get together is because they enjoy each other's company or they benefit from each other's company. Group therapy, for instance, is a social-emotional group where the reason you go to group therapy is to benefit from the interaction process. You want to say something?
Okay, so that's considered task-focused also on the social-emotional.
No, social-emotional groups are not task-focused. That's the other kind, the complementary kind.
Okay, I was just wondering because it fell under task. Okay.
It says compare it to social-emotional focus.
Is that what that means?
Of course. And they're collectively oriented, which means it's a group task. Everybody should contribute to it. Everybody should participate in the solution. And everybody should agree on whatever the solution is that they come up with. So not only are they task-focused, but they are collectively oriented, which means everybody has to be involved in solving this problem. And once they have come to a solution, they have to be sure that everybody buys into it. And I think if you are familiar with what a jury does, think about them as being, they're not only task-focused, they're collectively oriented. They have to agree on the verdict. That's a very collectively oriented group. The opposite of that would be individual orientation. So you can imagine a group of people who are working on, some sort of exam in the same room. Everybody comes up with different answers. Or imagine people working on a situation where some of them think the answer should be this, some of them think the answer should be that. Those guys are not collectively oriented, they're individually oriented. But the idea here is the group gets together because we want to solve a problem, and we're all going to work together on it, and we're all going to work until we agree we've got a good solution. Got that for scope? The 4 principles that we have to explain, you've got them in your notes probably from last week, but I just want to say a couple of words about them. First of all, in groups that are task-focused and collectively oriented, you will always find participation inequality. Some people do a lot of participation, some people do very little, and you can see it very quickly. And as the group gets bigger, the amount of inequality increases. You remember when I had those instances of Bales groups of different size and how much inequality you'd see? As the group gets bigger, the amount of inequality increases. So in a group of, say, 12 people, like a jury, there's going to be 2 or 3 people whose participation occurs maybe 2 or 3% of the time. And there'll be somebody who participates a lot, maybe 45 to 50% of the time. That's what I mean. As the group gets bigger, the inequality increases. Second, it's reciprocal. If you rank them on how much they talk, you've also ranked them on how much they're talked to. What does that tell you? Well, that tells you that how much they're talking is a function of how much other people are talking to them. It's not that I like to talk a lot, and so I'm going to talk a lot in this group. No, it's I'm talking a lot because other people are encouraging me to talk a lot. Or I'm not talking very much, even though I'd like to, because other people are discouraging me from talking a lot. Got those two? So, together, these tell us there's inequality, and the inequality is being produced by all the members of the group. It's not imposed from the outside. It has very little to do with the personalities of the people involved, but it has to do with how they treat each other. Any questions on those two? I hope you're thinking of how you could explain them. Third thing we always see in these groups is, I call it consistency. Remember, in a lot of cases, Bales administered questionnaires. Who had the best ideas, who had the most ability, who did the most to organize the group and keep things moving. Well, if you rank the members on those items, you'll find that that ranking correlates very much with how much they talk. So that begins to give us an idea of why they're encouraging some people and discouraging others. They're trying to encourage the people who they think has good ideas. And they're trying to discourage the people who have bad ideas. Why do they want to discourage those people? Because they're task-focused. They are there to solve a problem. They're not there because they like talking to these people. It's a task-focused group. And finally, persistence. Once you've got this inequality, which in a discussion group takes maybe 10 minutes to emerge, once you've got this inequality, it tends to persist throughout the meeting. So if you look at the inequality in participation, say, at the end of 10 minutes, and then look at it again at the end of 60 minutes, the inequality that you saw at the end of 10 minutes is very close to the inequality you see at the end of 60 minutes. So 4 things that we will try to explain. Inequality, reciprocity, consistency, and persistence.